HighBridge, a division of Recorded Books, presents Better Humans: What the Mental Health Pandemic Teaches Us About Humanity by Janeane Bernstein, Edd. Read by Janeane Bernstein, Edd. Forward. Dear Better Humans, I hope this finds you well. Ring ring. It's 2018, and I'm sitting in my office near the UCLA campus in Westwood, California. The phone rings. Yes, an actual landline phone. My reaction is to quickly answer the call, and yet I hesitate. My body tenses with a twinge of anxiety because of the uncertainty of what waits for me on the other end of the phone. It rings again. I take a deep breath, close my eyes, and prepare to provide support. Hello, NAMI Westside Los Angeles. This is Erin. How can I help you? For those of you who know NAMI, you know. And for those of you who don't, NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which is the nation's largest grassroots organization dedicated to improving the lives of those affected by mental health conditions. So essentially, we are dedicated to helping everyone, as is the message in this amazing book. Context. 1 in 5 U.S. adults and 1 in 6 U.S. youth aged 6 to 17 experience a mental health disorder each year. Suicide is the second leading cause of death among people aged 10 to 14. Millions of people in the U.S. are affected by mental health conditions each year. That means you or someone you know and love is affected. It's important to measure how common mental health conditions are, so we can understand their physical, social, and financial impact, and so we can show that no one is alone. These numbers are also powerful tools for raising public awareness, stigma busting, and advocating for better health care. Many people don't know about the importance of mental health until they are in crisis and need answers. As the executive director of NAMI Westside Los Angeles County, I have answered the phone many times to hear a sobbing mother, sister, husband, or friend on the other line reaching out for urgent help, feeling like there is nowhere to turn and they are all alone on this journey. Feeling alone. That all started to change in 2020, when humanity experienced a collective trauma. Ring ring, it's COVID-19, a global pandemic calling. Well, no one was prepared to answer that call. But in some capacity, we all had to deal with the unfathomable number of deaths, pervasive sense of fear, economic instability, and forced physical distancing from loved ones, friends, and our individual communities. This collective trauma exacerbated unprecedented stresses, and, if there could be a silver lining, it also shed a new light on the importance of our collective mental health. The shame and stigma associated with mental health was put on hold, and then put on speakerphone. The human race was experiencing feelings of isolation, anxiety, depression, and uncertainty from the pandemic, and we were in it together. A call to action. On December 7, 2021, a 53-page advisory from the U.S. Surgeon General, Vivek H. Murthy, focused the nation's attention on the youth mental health crisis. He states, "Our obligation to act is not just medical, it's moral. I believe that. Coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have an unprecedented opportunity as a country to rebuild in a way that refocuses our identity and common values, puts people first, and strengthens our connections to each other. We have an opportunity to be better humans." My colleague and fellow heart leader, Janeane Bernstein, is answering the Surgeon General's call to action with her amazing work in the mental health space, and most recently with her new book, Better Humans, and you are one of them. Kudos to you for listening to this book. You are a traveler on the life path of learning and growth. Prepare to be inspired by the heartfelt, authentic stories of the previously untold silent battles with mental health and the voices of youth, our future leaders in this space. Get ready to be informed by what created and fueled the mental health pandemic, and learn from the stories and insights of teachers, educators, and mental health professionals, often the ones on the front lines of this pandemic. You will have the opportunity to think outside the box, hear from people of ages and backgrounds, and walk away with real-time resources. I first met Janeane as a guest on her podcast. She is a wonderful listener and storyteller and creates a safe space for truth to shine. She shares pure vulnerability and golden nuggets of wisdom throughout the book. Janeane's varied background in education, media, technology, teaching, communications, and journalism create an all-encompassing eclectic lens for the listener to gain perspective with tangible tools and candid conversations. Listening to this book feels like you're having a cup of coffee with some of your dearest friends, reflecting on what happened and discussing how can we be better? How can we do better for ourselves and others? These are big questions, and you are a better human for asking them. So happy to have shared a few words with you and have you join Janeane on her journey in finding solutions. Be well, better humans. With gratitude, Erin Raftery Ryan, Executive Director, NAMI Westside, Los Angeles. Introduction. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Be kind, always. Robin Williams. I wanted to write Better Humans to share with you, my fellow humans, how we need to be better and do better as a collective whole. This book is for students, teachers, parents, school administrators, businesses, policymakers, and anyone else really, as I provide a glimpse into what you should know about the mental health pandemic, how we got here, and its impact. I have included numerous conversations with people of all ages who share lessons learned and insights into how you and I can be better to ourselves, our loved ones, colleagues, and total strangers. We need to do better as humans with the choices we make, how we take care of one another, and how we connect and communicate. We need to embrace diversity and inclusivity and prioritize and treat mental health and well-being. We must examine each and every context and every possible demographic impacted by the lack of mental health services due to inequities, disparities, and inclusivity. We are a hurting nation where students and adults' mental health needs are unmet. The wait time or access to mental health professionals is worrisome. And if you do manage to get an appointment, there is not enough time and resources to address the magnitude of needs. Without help, mental health issues impact every aspect of your life, causing a ripple effect of issues. Solutions and strategies are not happening soon enough, and the lack of attention and prioritization given to mental health became even more apparent from 2020 on. Now, you and I have an opportunity to create a world that can positively impact the minds and actions of students of all ages, adults in every work setting and age group. This is the time to end mental health stigma in all contexts and change the trajectory of people's lives. COVID-19 was a wake-up call for humanity and a test to our own resilience. I don't know very many people who haven't experienced some form of loss since March 2020. This loss might have been losing a friend or relative to COVID-19 or another illness, either suddenly or long-term. Losing yourself was a common theme as well, as more and more people sought psychological counseling for a new or past trauma, addiction, or mental health issue, while marginalized groups never had the support and resources to begin with. And the demand for mental health professionals outweighed availability and access. Beginning in March 2020, you might have also lost your interpersonal connections, your job, your sense of self-worth, and felt disconnected from the very people under your roof as you tried to process the news of the world. You were consumed with stress and anxiety as you tried to get through the long days. Days blended into weeks, months, and now years on Zoom. Your life consisted of multitasking as a mother, for example, trying to work from home, homeschool kids, pay bills, put food on the table, and maintain your sanity, all while grieving the loss of a loved one or several. No one would have anticipated how 2020 would devastate millions of lives within the United States and throughout the world. One day, we were in crowded airports, traveling the world, visiting amusement parks, attending concerts, cheering our favorite teams in packed stadiums, having dinner with friends and colleagues, running through Grand Central Station in rush hour, visiting museums, going to the movies, partying on college campuses, and connecting physically and emotionally, shaking hands, hugging, kissing, chatting with strangers. And the next, life as we knew it, was shattered. We could not have fathomed that a virus that originated in Wuhan, China, would devastate our world like a science fiction movie most of us would never want to see. In February 2020, I remember sitting in the aisle seat of an airplane next to a woman in the middle seat who looked weak and feverish. She barely moved the entire flight, except for her head that flopped back and forth as she slept. I thought she might have bronchitis or the flu. For some reason, I had a surgical mask in my purse, and I thought, I don't want to catch bronchitis, my kryptonite, so I quickly put my mask on. When we landed, the woman to the right of her looked stressed and said to me, "She is so incredibly sick." That was so smart you wore a mask. Little did I know, my seatmate might have had COVID-19, which was not even part of my vocabulary then. Flash forward, and millions of people lost their lives to COVID-19, experienced massive job losses, went through the mental and emotional effects of social isolation, witnessed and or participated in protests, viewed senseless and horrific deaths from police brutalities, discrimination of all kinds, devastating school shootings, and other unimaginable incidents of gun violence, massive disruption of supply chains, soaring rates of domestic violence, abuse, racial and ethnic inequities, homelessness, anxiety, depression, suicide, divorce, drug and alcohol abuse, consequences from isolation, struggles of working from home, including juggling work-life balance, food insecurity, and so on. No one was immune to the ripple effects of the pandemic. I did have a conversation or two in 2020 with people who were living in their own little bubbles, not in touch with the reality and suffering of those affected by COVID-19. It pained me to listen to their insignificant, minuscule struggles. All I had to do was view the numerous emotional Instagram posts in 2020 from crying, exhausted, and terrified nurses who were brand new to their field. And I felt their pain reverberate through me. And then there were students, teachers, counselors, therapists, doctors, frontline workers, and more who openly shared an inside look at their daily emotional pandemic struggles that most of us would never go through. Millions of people lost jobs, looked for work that seemed impossible, or worked remotely in a whole new world of chaos. For those living in retirement homes, COVID-19 forced them into social distancing and isolation from loved ones to keep them safe. But the social isolation became detrimental to their mental, emotional, and physical health. Mothers and caregivers tried to manage all aspects of their lives under one roof: work, childcare, homeschooling, remote learning, motherhood, and other relationships, all melded together like a weird new flavor of ice cream that no one had ever heard of, or wanted for that matter. There was no prep time to learn how to function remotely in social isolation. Schools had to shift rapidly to online instruction, and pandemic life replaced what was normal and familiar. Thus began a life of mental, physical, and emotional trauma that was adorned by masks of all types and a constant dose of hand sanitizer, social distancing, isolation, fear, and anxiety. You might have been one of the millions of students having to live at home, no longer able to experience college life and the freedom of personal growth. You heard plenty of stories about how great college life was going to be, but yours was an experience confined to your bedroom, staring at a computer screen. So, you chose to shut your computer cameras off during classes and became a faceless black screen with a name. Maybe you were paying attention or doing something else like sleeping, eating, watching TikTok videos, or scrolling on your phone to just numb out your pandemic pain. You had to shut yourselves out from the world to the detriment of your mental, physical, and emotional health. And the plethora of suffering is not surprising. As I set out to structure this book, there seemed to be more and more articles published about prioritizing mental health in schools and businesses. But what does this really mean? And when will there be a mental health care system that provides equal access, resources, and enough skilled professionals that offer training and education for diverse and difficult needs of people of all ages and backgrounds? With a shortage of trained therapists and counselors, you might have finally decided to reach out for help, only to find out you can't find anyone available, or your insurance doesn't cover therapy. If you reached out to your counseling center at your school, the wait times were long and the resources limited. This was disheartening because how were you supposed to get the help you needed? There must be consistent messaging about mental health, training, and education, and an elimination of stigma. Mental health professionals must also be compensated properly for the essential work they do and the long, stressful days they face treating a wide variety of mental health issues and illnesses. The pandemic raised awareness around empathy, acceptance, a dismantling of mindsets, and the creation of policies and priorities that put mental health at the forefront. These are societal changes that will impact the trajectory of future generations. We can't afford to look away at the structural problems in the mental health care system. The exodus of essential workers and the lack of initiatives to meet the needs of children and adults. We needed mental health action a long time ago, but it took a pandemic to prove it. The media shines a light almost daily on how there are initiatives to reduce the stigma associated with mental health, and celebrities are speaking out as well. However, these conversations must be embedded in consistent messaging and agendas in our educational institutions, healthcare systems, and in the minds and actions of parents and other individuals throughout society. So we are all on the same page, reinforcing the same messages. Mental health initiatives must take precedent. You can be an incredible student academically But if you are struggling with mental health issues and a drug addiction, you will face an uphill battle throughout your lifetime. Mental health stigma and acceptance of the status quo is embedded in our culture. However, 2022 is a wake-up call to stop numbing out and do away with mindsets that are outdated and do not serve us. Our world is suffering. People of all ages, socioeconomic backgrounds, gender and racial identities, and professions are hurting, and the data proves it. The question is, what can be done, and how soon? We have lost touch with what really matters: human connection, thoughtfulness, empathy, compassion, intergenerational experiences, consistent and inclusive mental health initiatives that reach diverse and marginalized communities, and meaningful experiences that lift us up and bring people together instead of further dividing us. Many of us are numb to the constant chaos and horrific news of more school shootings. As of October 5th, 2022, Education Week magazine reported that there have been 35 school shootings in the U.S., resulting in deaths or injuries. These incidents are often caused by young men in their late teens and 20s. Where did the origins of all this hate come from? Why would anyone decide to purchase assault rifles, boast about them on social media, and shoot up a school, killing teachers, staff, and innocent children shortly after killing their grandmother? The U.S. has a serious gun problem, but at the root is also a mental health issue, where research is needed to study the backgrounds of the people who plan such horrific acts of violence. Their social media accounts need to be analyzed, and social media companies must be held accountable by reviewing accounts 24/7. They need to set standards for what is acceptable and not acceptable content, and take action on red flag warnings. Right now, it feels like the Wild West, and anything goes on social media, including sex trafficking, child porn, abuse, and hate crimes. I believe some incidents of gun violence reflect a life lived in a cycle of abuse and suffering that perpetuated from childhood through adulthood. Oftentimes, these individuals suffer from mental illness, social rejection, depression, and abuse as children. With support from school administrators, teachers, and staff should tune in to the students who don't seem to fit in, such as social outcasts or anyone else who seems troubled, and implement ongoing mental health and wellness check-ins with students. This can be done on an app every morning, like you would when you seek mental health counseling. With well-thought-out strategies for early detection in schools and work settings, only then will we begin to see a reduction in hate crimes, and people can get the care they need. People suffer in silence, and no one knows until it is too late. Why didn't anyone notice the self-inflicted marks on the Uvalde, Texas shooter's face and do anything before he flipped a switch and destroyed lives May 2022? In an interview with ABC News, students said they were frightened of him. He boasted about the cut marks he did himself. Wasn't this enough of a red flag to do something? Who should have followed through, and what could have been done? This is now an all too common occurrence. Students are frightened to go to school, a place where they are not supposed to be having shooter drills, and worried about whether their school is next. Schools are a place to interact, grow socially and emotionally, and feel safe and connected. Is it any surprise that students are experiencing so much trauma, anxiety, depression, and so many suicidal thoughts? The weight of the world is too much, And after having been forced to study remotely, many don't feel connected when they are finally back in person. We have lost our ability to connect, to feel connected, to feel heard and understood. Many don't feel listened to, and they might not have someone that they can vent to, so they keep everything inside. They escape to their inner worlds and numb out. School staff and teachers are pushed to their limit. They not only shifted to online learning, but dealt with ongoing debates on everything from mask policies to what should be taught in the curriculum. For example, critical race theory, while being poorly compensated and disrespected. Hundreds of thousands of teachers have left their profession. School mental health professionals and staff have not been properly trained and equipped to handle the growing demands of the pandemic. They left too. However, when you hear from some of the young adults interviewed for this book, sometimes all someone wanted was someone to listen to, whatever it is they were going through, and for that listener to then share their own story of personal struggles, all without passing judgment. They just wanted to know there was someone available to connect with and to feel heard. How are you? No, really. How are you? Truthfully, you might not be okay. Millions of people of all ages are filled with anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, PTSD, and more. We are numbing out on TikTok, Instagram, and other platforms. There is a spike in substance abuse for numerous reasons, ranging from depression and anxiety to someone's life completely imploding and not feeling seen and heard. There are also long-term effects of COVID-19. Many people have had COVID-19 on more than one occasion. And long-term side effects can zap you of your energy, mentally deplete you, and spiral you into despair. Sadly, people share on social media their raw emotions, pain, and suffering, and how their life has been put on hold because of the long-term effects of this deadly virus, which was once not even part of our vocabulary back in early 2020. People have spent an enormous amount of time socially isolated, making being back in person awkward and uncomfortable. We have forgotten how to communicate. We are tethered to our electronic devices, which provide comfort and a lifeline to other places to retreat to, mentally and emotionally. Another downside to our tech addiction is that we see things we will never be able to unsee. Images and news are available 24/7 that are often graphic and amped up to feed the media machine, getting people to click and view on images not meant for consumption. No wonder we are up at night scrolling, swiping, looking for something that will make us feel whole, but at the same time, feeling hopeless, disengaged, and filled with feelings of inadequacy and unfulfillment, unable to feel gratitude for what is right in front of us. Where would we be without Zoom and Google Meet? I am thankful for our technology, but we are inundated with so much information and creators posting millions of images and videos, all vying for our attention. A lot of times designed to be clickbait. What we see on social media can oftentimes be detrimental to our psyches and self-esteem. And the addiction to creating and keeping up with everyone else is an exhaustive beast. While technology has connected us in a time of enormous disconnect, it has also harmed the mental health of so many, especially those in the Generation Z age group. There is pressure to act and look a certain way, capture moments of the minute details, private moments of our days, and buy certain products, clothes, and other items that will make you even more attractive because it seems you're not attractive enough. You are neither thin nor pretty, handsome or cute enough. You need to have a filter on when you post. We live in a more amped up world of comparing ourselves constantly, negating ourselves, obsessing over total strangers.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?